Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on quite a mission. We're digging into a set of sources you shared about this really fascinating point where, well, extreme science kind of slams right into some terrifying folklore.
Yeah, the subject is basically the deepest hole humanity has ever managed to drill into the Earth. Picture this. The Soviet Union, height of the Cold War, a massive, ambitious drilling project. We're going to unpack what happened when this push for, pure geological knowledge seemed to stumble upon, well, something else entirely, something mythical. It's a story that really captures the imagination, doesn't it? It touches on human ambition, maybe hubris, and definitely fear. We're talking about the Kokola super deep borehole. It was this huge Soviet undertaking. But maybe its most lasting legacy isn't the science, funnily enough, but this urban legend it created. The
Well,
wolf.
and to really get why that legend took hold, you first need to understand the sheer scale of the actual scientific project. It was monumental.
Absolutely. Scale is definitely the word.
I mean, this wasn't just some quick exploratory hole they dug. No, this project spanned decades. It was located way up north in the Kola Peninsula, super remote, near Norway, inside the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, and that desolate, extreme setting, it kind of became the perfect backdrop for this Cold War scientific drama, you could say.
And the political context was huge, wasn't it?
Oh, completely. You had the space race, but there was also this sort of race to the Earth's center, if you will. The Americans had tried drilling deep into the ocean floor back in the 60s with Project Mohole, but it didn't quite pan out. So the Soviets were determined to beat them, but on land. And crucially, they weren't drilling for oil or minerals. This was pure science, deep crust research.
Just drilling for knowledge itself. So what was the specific geological prize they were after? What were they hoping to find way down there?
Okay, so the big target was something called the Mohorovičić discontinuity, or just the MOHO for short. Basically, it's the boundary line between the Earth's crust, the outer skin, and the denser mantle layer underneath.
Ah, okay, like hitting the bottom layer of the planet's skin.
Exactly. And figuring out what the MOHO was actually made of, that was like the holy grail for geologists back then. Drilling through the continental crust was seen as the only way to find out for sure.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. This was about answering fundamental questions about Earth. So let's talk achievement. How deep did they actually manage to go, and what made that depth so spectacular?
Well, from a purely technical perspective, it was pretty astonishing, especially for the time. They started drilling in the 70s, and by the early 1990s, they'd reached a depth of 12,262 meters.
12,000 meters. That's over 12 kilometers straight down.
Yeah, just think about that. It's deeper than the Mariana Trench is deep. It's an incredible engineering feat.
Absolutely mind-boggling, especially considering the tech they had back in the 70s and 80s. But it wasn't just about hitting a number, was it? The stuff they found on the way down, that actually changed science.
Oh, definitely. They were drilling through rock, billions of years old.
Yeah.
Rock that had never seen the light of day. And the surprises started piling up. For instance, scientists had models, predictions. Right. They expected to hit basalt rock around 7 kilometers down. But they never did. They just kept drilling through granite and then deeper, through metamorphic rocks like gneiss. Rocks changed by immense heat and pressure over geological time.
So the Earth's structure down there was different than they thought. What else? You mentioned surprises. What about, say, water? Or life? Surely not that deep.
That was maybe the most stunning discovery. They found water down at, nearly 12 kilometers deep, inside rock that everyone thought would be completely dry and impermeable.
Water? How?
It seems it was ancient water, trapped within the rock's mineral structure for possibly billions of years, sealed off completely. And even more shocking, they found microscopic fossils, plankton fossils incredibly, at depths where it was thought impossible for any life or even organic matter to survive.
Wow, microscopic fossils that deep. That must have completely rewritten some timelines for early life on Earth.
It really did. It pushed back our understanding of where and how deep life could exist. So, yeah, undeniable scientific success. World-changing stuff.
Ancient water, tiny fossils, a new picture of the crust. Amazing. But the project eventually stopped. And it wasn't just lack of funding, at least not at first, right? It was the Earth itself that kind of fought back.
Precisely. The Earth became the ultimate engineering problem. They were aiming for the MOHO, but physics got in the way. See, they'd predicted the temperature down there at their target depth might be around 100 degrees Celsius. Manageable, maybe.
Okay.
But as they pushed past 12 kilometers, the temperature rose much, much faster than expected. They hit 180 degrees Celsius.
180 C, that's like a furnace.
Yeah.
Nearly double what they anticipated.
Exactly, like a very hot oven. And that extreme heat, combined with the immense pressure, well, it did strange things to the rock and the equipment.
What kind of strange things?
The rock itself, the granite down there, essentially started behaving like plastic. Under that heat and pressure, it wasn't brittle anymore. It became sort of pliable, flowing almost.
Flowing rock. Wow.
Yeah, so the drill bits couldn't get a grip, they'd get stuck, equipment failed constantly, the pressure was immense. Progress became virtually impossible with the technology they had.
So it wasn't demons or anything supernatural that stopped them. It was physics. Extreme heat and pressure making the rock itself unbeatable. That's the actual reason they had to stop drilling deeper.
That's the scientific reality, yes.
Yeah.
But the timing here is just perfect for a myth to be born. Because right around then, the early 90s, when they hit that record depth, but were also facing these huge technical problems, and the Soviet Union itself was starting to crumble.
That's when the story shifted.
Exactly. The project was vulnerable, scaling back, and suddenly global attention focuses on this incredibly deep, mysterious hole in a remote corner of the Arctic. And that vacuum, it gets filled almost instantly with something far more dramatic than geology.
Okay, let's dive into that story. The rumor. What was the specific, terrifying detail that just captured the world's imagination? The thing that made this project infamous?
Right, so the core of the legend, the bit that went viral, is very specific and very visceral. The claim was, and this started circulating widely around 1989, 1990, that the scientists, after reaching their deepest point, decided to lower something down the hole.
Not just drill bits.
No, something else. A microphone. A super-sensitive, heat-resistant microphone designed to pick up sound from the depths.
Okay. Lowering a microphone down the world's deepest hole, what did they supposedly hear? Tectonic plates grinding, magma flowing.
According to the story, nothing like that. The sounds they allegedly recorded were horrifying. Screams, millions of voices crying out in agony, moaning in pain, coming from deep, deep underground.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not subtle.
Not subtle at all. And the interpretation was immediate and widespread.
Yeah.
These are the sounds of the damned, the sounds of hell.
So that's where the well to hell name comes from. People literally believed they drilled an opening into well hell.
Precisely. It tapped directly into religious fears and myths. The sheer scale described millions of suffering souls, made it incredibly potent.
And the story didn't just stop with the sounds, did it? It had consequences in the narrative.
Right, that's what makes it stick.
Yeah.
The legend says the scientists were so utterly terrified by what they'd recorded that they just stopped, immediately ceased all drilling.
Pulled everything out.
Cut everything out, and then, this is the crucial part of the myth, they sealed the borehole. Welded it shut, supposedly.
Killed it. Why?
To make sure no one else could ever accidentally listen in on the sounds of the underworld. To hide the terrible discovery.
That adds that perfect, chilling final touch, doesn't it? The idea of forbidden knowledge, a boundary crossed, and the desperate attempt to cover it up.
It's a classic narrative structure. The secret the authorities don't want you to know. But we need to be really clear here for you listening, this whole story. The microphone, the screams, the ceiling, because of fear.
It's completely false, right? A total fabrication.
Yes, a very effective, globally spread false rumor, an urban legend.
So how did a story like that, originating from maybe some obscure publications, spread so far and wide, especially back then, kind of pre-mass internet?
That's a great question. Its origins are a bit murky, but it seems to have gotten a major boost from some religious newsletters and tabloids, first perhaps in Scandinavia, then spreading to the US and elsewhere. But why it spread, why people believed it? Part of it is that it was grafted onto something real. The Kola borehole did exist. It was incredibly deep. That gave it a kernel of twisted truth.
And the setting helped sell it too, I bet.
Immensely. Think about it. This mysterious project happening in the remote, freezing, desolate Russian Arctic, run by the secretive Soviet state. It's the perfect place for uncovering something terrifying and hidden, right?
Yeah, it already feels like the edge of the world, the kind of place where boundaries might be thin. It makes the story feel more plausible somehow, even though it's completely wild.
Exactly. It takes the actual scientific challenge, the heat, the pressure, the funding issues, and reframes it as a supernatural warning. Don't drill too deep.
It's a really stark contrast, isn't it? You have this incredible, difficult, data-driven scientific effort.
Years of painstaking work, real geological discoveries.
And then you have this immediate, almost primal human reaction to fill the unknown deep with horror, with mythology. Science tries to map the physical, but folklore maps our fears.
Well put, and the legacy is fascinating. The Kola Super Deep Borehole is a landmark scientific achievement. It taught us so much about the Earth's crust, temperature gradients, even deep microbial life.
But ask most people about it.
And they'll probably mention the screams from hell. The myth has, in many ways, overshadowed the reality. It just shows the power of a good, scary story, especially one tied to a real extreme place.
That reality, the 180-degree heat, the rock behaving like plastic, that's actually pretty mind-bending science. But maybe it's just not as sticky as the idea of hearing souls in torment.
The emotional punch of the legend is hard to beat. That's why it persists, decades later.
So for you listening, this whole episode is really a case study, isn't it? It's about how the meaning people attach to something, the story they tell about it, can sometimes become more powerful, more lasting than the complex scientific facts.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. The whole point of the Cola Project was the pursuit of knowledge, right? To find out what's really down there. So why did the story that caught fire globally focus entirely on the danger of that knowledge, on a boundary that shouldn't be crossed? What is our fascination with this idea, this sealed-up hole to hell? Tell us about how we, as humans, relate to the truly extreme, the deep unknown. Maybe it says something about our need for limits, even on our own curiosity.
That's a really interesting question to chew on. The real discoveries were geological, but the lasting impact was fear. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the facts, the fiction, and the deepest scar humans have ever made on our planet.